Finn Harlow didn't expect the woman across the table to be the same one who once threw a cup of coffee at him during a college debate. "Are you kidding me?" he muttered under his breath, eyes narrowing across the glass conference table. Cara Preston sat tall, arms crossed, her expression unreadable except for the dangerous glint in her eyes. "Nice to see you too, Finn." Their names blared on the front of the confidential proposal folder. Presco Tech X Harlow Global Merger Strategy Lead, Finn Harlow and Cara Preston. He was a billionaire tech mogul, known for swallowing up companies and turning them into gold. She was the rising star of Presco Tech, the daughter of a legacy but the brains behind its recent explosion in growth. Their companies had been rivals for years. Now the boards had decided to force a partnership to secure a billion-dollar government contract, and Finn, he hated being told what to do, especially with Cara Preston. "Let's get one thing clear," he said, adjusting the cuffs of his custom navy suit. "This isn't a team. It's a temporary alliance." Cara didn't flinch. "Relax, Harlow. I'm not here to braid friendship bracelets with you. Let's just get this done." The tension between them could have shattered the glass walls of the conference room. Their first meeting was a disaster. He challenged everything she suggested, and she made it her mission to call out every flaw in his logic. The second meeting wasn't better, but by the third, something shifted. She showed up early, sleeves rolled up, hair tied back, flipping through technical charts like they were bedtime stories. "Wait," Finn said, leaning over her shoulder. "You split the architecture between public and private cloud layers," she nodded, not looking up. "Less risk exposure." "I'm not about to let your empire crash my servers." He stared at her, genuinely impressed for the first time. Maybe she wasn't just a legacy name or a pretty face with a sharp tongue. She was smart, too smart, and maybe that was the problem. He started watching her more closely. How she bit her lip when she was deep in focus. How she tapped her pen against her notebook when she was thinking. How she didn't flinch when she stood her ground even against him. Until one night, after a 14-hour strategy session, they ended up alone in the office lounge, both too exhausted to pretend they weren't human. "Why do you hate me?" Cara asked suddenly, her voice soft, vulnerable. "I don't hate you," Finn said, setting down his glass of whiskey. "You just make it really hard to like you." She laughed, and it hit him. God, her laugh was nothing like he expected. It was warm, real. "What about you?" she asked. "Why do you act like you're allergic to anyone doing anything better than you?" He tilted his head, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Because they usually aren't." She rolled her eyes. Unbelievable, but she didn't leave. She drank her tea and sat next to him on the leather couch, the city lights glowing behind them. Silence stretched between them, not heavy just there. "Why tech?" he asked out of nowhere. Cara hesitated. "Because I hate being underestimated. This industry forces people to take you seriously if you're good enough." Finn looked at her. "You don't need to prove anything, Cara. You already won." She glanced at him, surprised, and that was the beginning of the shift. The next few days were different. They argued less, listened more. When she walked into the room, he noticed. When he cracked a joke, she laughed. But neither of them acknowledged it, not yet, until the gala. It was a formal event thrown by the Department of Innovation for the top tech firms bidding for the contract. Finn arrived in a black tux, stepping out of his sleek black town car to a crowd of cameras and flashing lights. He walked the carpet alone, used to the attention. But when Cara stepped out of her car in a sapphire dress that shimmered like midnight, the crowd gasped. So did he. He couldn't look away. "You clean up all right," she said as she reached him, her voice playful. He cleared his throat. "You look incredible." She gave him a quick once-over. "You're not so bad yourself, Mr. Harlow." They danced once just for show. But the moment his hand touched her waist and her fingers brushed his shoulder, it didn't feel like a performance anymore. Their bodies moved in sync, the world blurring around them. "You know we're playing with fire, right?" Cara whispered. He leaned in, lips brushing her ear. "Then let it burn." The rest of the night passed in a blur, but the tension between them didn't fade. It exploded. 3 nights later, after another long meeting, she followed him up to his penthouse office to drop off a flash drive. He opened the door for her, and the view alone made her pause. Floor-to-ceiling windows, the skyline stretching out like a dream. The space was sleek, modern, expensive. "You live here?" she asked. "Sometimes," he said, tossing his jacket over a chair. She wandered to the windows. "You really are the king of glass towers," he moved closer. "And you're the queen of ice." She turned to face him, eyes flashing. "You think I'm cold? I think you're scared." "Of what?" He stepped into her space. "Of wanting something that's not part of the plan." She didn't answer. Her breath caught. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Tell me I'm wrong." She didn't move. "You're not." And then she kissed him. It wasn't soft, it wasn't careful. It was fire, like they'd both been waiting for this the whole time and finally gave in. When they pulled apart, breathless, she whispered, "This changes everything." Finn looked at her, heart racing. Good. But neither of them saw what was coming next. The next morning, Kara walked into the boardroom 30 minutes early, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Her face betrayed nothing, not even a flicker of what had happened the night before. The kiss. The shift. The line they'd crossed. Finn was already there, his jacket off, tie loosened, sleeves rolled to his elbows as he scrawled across a dry erase board with a red marker. He didn't glance at her. Not even a nod. She dropped her file on the table. "Didn't think you were the type to show up before sunrise." "I don't sleep much," he said, still writing. "Too many moving parts to track." She pulled out a chair, slid into it. "Sounds exhausting." "It is." He finally turned. "But it keeps me sharp." Their eyes held for a beat too long. Then he tossed the marker onto the tray and walked over. "We've got 72 hours to finalize the integration plan. I ran the projections on the back-end migration." "Your team's model isn't going to hold under the projected user load." Kara arched a brow. "That's funny. Because the last time I checked, your infrastructure couldn't handle a cloud migration without a 3-month delay." "That was last quarter," he said. "I acquired a firm in Zurich 2 weeks ago. Their platform is already up and running." "You bought an entire Swiss tech firm overnight." He sat across from her, voice calm. "I needed it, so I got it." She leaned back slowly, assessing him. "You don't believe in playing fair, do you?" "I believe in winning." Kara didn't respond. She reached for her laptop and started typing, her focus razor sharp. Finn watched her for a second, then stood and paced behind her. "I've been thinking," he said, "about the pitch." She didn't look up. "We already agreed on the outline. I want to change it." Now she did glance up. "You want to overhaul our entire proposal 2 days before the deadline." "It's not an overhaul, it's a pivot, a stronger narrative, one that positions us as future-proof, not just scalable." Kara folded her arms. "So you want to bet everything on uncertainty?" "I want to bet everything on vision." She studied him carefully. "That's not what this is about." He didn't deny it. "You think if we get this contract, you'll finally outpace my father's legacy," she said flatly. Finn's expression darkened slightly. "Your father's legacy has nothing to do with this." "You and I both know that's not true." He shoved his hands into his pockets and looked out the window. "He never respected me, even when I built what he couldn't." Kara's voice dropped. "He respected power." "Not people." Finn turned back to her. "And you, what do you respect?" She stood, walking over to the whiteboard. "Truth, originality, and people who don't hide behind their money." He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the tension between them rising again. "I don't hide behind anything," he said. "Then why did you ignore me when I walked in?" He blinked. "Because if I looked at you, I wouldn't have been able to think straight." Kara's breath caught, but she didn't move. "We made a mistake," she said quietly. "Did we?" She opened her mouth to answer, but the door flew open. "Sorry to interrupt," said a young executive assistant, clearly rattled. "Mr. Harlow, you're needed upstairs. There's a situation with the Zurich servers." Finn's jaw tightened. "Give me 5 minutes." The assistant hesitated. "They said it couldn't wait." With a glance at Kara, Finn grabbed his phone and left wordlessly. She stared after him, heart pounding, unsure of whether to be angry or relieved. By mid-afternoon, the Zurich issue had turned into a full-blown crisis. Kara stayed late, poring over code and architecture blueprints to adapt their proposal in case the new platform couldn't be salvaged in time. She didn't expect him to return, but just after 9, the elevator dinged. Finn walked in, his tie gone, hair slightly tousled, a sheen of frustration clinging to him. "You're still here," he said. "I thought you didn't sleep." He dropped a thick folder onto the table. The Zurich servers are stable, barely, she didn't answer. I owe you an explanation, he said. No, you don't. I do. I didn't ignore you because I regretted it. I ignored you because I didn't know how to want you and still do my job. She looked up. I wasn't expecting this, he added. Any of it. Kara approached him slowly. Neither was I. He reached out, tentative this time, brushing his thumb along her cheek. You terrify me. Good, she whispered. Because you terrify me too. He leaned in again, but before their lips met, her phone rang. She groaned, reaching into her bag. It's my brother. I have to take this. Finn nodded. She stepped away to answer, voice hushed. He watched her from across the room the way she paced while she talked, how her brow furrowed in concern. When she hung up, something in her face had changed. What happened? Kara hesitated. My mother's foundation fundraiser. It's tomorrow night, and I promised I'd go. He nodded. Go. There's a catch, she added. It's black tie, and I need someone to attend with me, for reasons? Reasons? Let's just say my ex is on the board now, and my mother wants me to look successful and emotionally evolved. Her words. Finn's lips twitched. So you want me to play trophy date? I want you to play the man I'm working closely with and may or may not be seeing socially. He crossed his arms. Are we? I haven't decided. His gaze sharpened. Then let me make the decision easier. He walked over, pulled a slim black box from his coat pocket and opened it. Inside was a pair of teardrop diamond earrings. I saw them yesterday, didn't know why I bought them. Now I do. Kara stared at them, then back at him. This is insane, maybe. But we passed normal 3 meetings ago. She took the box slowly. I don't need gifts, Finn, I know, but I wanted to give you something that didn't come with a merger agreement. Their eyes met. Pick me up at 7, she said, then she walked out, leaving him standing alone, heart pounding. Kara adjusted the delicate clasp of her earrings in the mirror, her fingers unusually unsteady. The diamonds caught the light, throwing tiny fractures across the marble counter of the powder room at the Preston family estate. The ballroom beyond pulsed with music and murmured conversation, but for a moment, everything inside her was still. She didn't want to admit how much she'd anticipated seeing him tonight. She stepped into the crowd just as Finn arrived, heads turned. Not because of his black, tailored tuxedo or the effortless confidence in his stride, but because he didn't belong here. The Preston's charity gala was a curated affair, a sea of old money and calculated charm. Finn Harlow was disruption in human form, and he didn't care. He walked directly to her, offering his arm like he'd done it 1,000 times before. You're late, she said, though her voice lacked heat. You're early, he countered. Can't have you upstaging me. As they made their way through the room, Kara felt the weight of every eye. Whispers followed them. She recognized them all alumni from her parents' world of influence and legacy. Her ex, Daniel, stood near the bar, his expression tightening as he saw Finn's hand resting lightly on her back. You have exactly 3 minutes before my mother finds us, Kara said under her breath. Plenty of time, Finn replied. Want me to scandalize the room or dazzle them? I need you to survive them. Where's the fun in that? She laughed, and it was the first real sound she'd made all evening. When her mother finally approached, she wore the kind of practiced smile that had once made world leaders squirm. Kara, she said, air kissing both cheeks, and Mr. Harlow, how unexpected. Finn took her hand. Pleasure's mine. Her mother's eyes flicked briefly to the earrings. I see your taste remains, singular. Before Kara could respond, Daniel appeared beside them, his cologne already announcing him. Kara, he said smoothly, didn't expect to see you with Harlow. Finn turned, his tone friendly but unmistakably firm. And you are Daniel Whitmore, he said, extending his hand. Board chair of the Preston Foundation. Ah, Finn said, shaking at once. The ex, Daniel's expression flickered, but he recovered quickly. You've made quite a name for yourself. Though I'm surprised to see you stepping into legacy philanthropy. I go where I'm invited, Finn said, and Kara tends to be very persuasive. Kara's mother intervened with a brittle chuckle. Why don't we all head to the auction table? I'm sure there's something there bold enough to match your style, Mr. Harlow. It was a challenge, and Finn never backed down from those. Lead the way. Later, as the evening wore on and the music softened into something orchestral, Kara slipped away onto the veranda for air. The garden lights shimmered in the distance, and above them, the stars finally broke through the clouds. "You look like you're about to bolt," Finn said behind her. She didn't turn. "I should have warned you about tonight. I'm glad you didn't." "You handled my mother too well," Kara murmured. "She's going to invite you to Christmas now." "Perfect. I've always wanted to spend the holidays being judged by a room of people who think I'm new money." She turned to face him. "You didn't have to come tonight." "Yes, I did," he said. "You asked." Their eyes locked, and for the first time she didn't have a rebuttal. She only stepped forward, closing the distance between them. "Earlier," she said quietly, "you asked what I respected. I never answered properly." Finn waited. "I respect people who show up." He reached for her hand, twining his fingers with hers. "Then I guess I've finally earned something from you." She looked down at their hands, then back up. "Be careful, Finn, you're making this real." He leaned in, his voice a low murmur. "It was real the moment I started rewriting strategy proposals just to spend more time with you." They didn't kiss. Not here, it wasn't the moment for that, but something passed between them, solid, unshakable. Back inside, their phones buzzed simultaneously. Finn glanced at his first. His jaw flexed. Kara read hers and froze. "Is this real?" "Looks like it." The board had sent a late-night alert. The government had shortlisted their joint proposal. Final review was tomorrow morning. Early, she met Finn's eyes. "We need to get back. I'll call the driver." They left the gala without goodbyes, stepping into the sleek black car waiting below. The moment the doors shut, the energy between them changed. "We're not ready," Kara said, pulling up the documents on her tablet. "If they dig into the Zurich acquisition, they'll want answers we don't have." "I can get them," Finn replied. "But it'll mean calling in someone I'd rather not owe a favor to." "Who?" "My father's former advisor," Kara stilled. "That's a door you swore you'd never open." "I'm aware." She studied him for a long moment. "Then why are you willing to open it now?" He looked at her, no bravado, no shield. "Because this matters, and because you're in it." The car pulled up to the office building. Kara didn't move. "Finn," she said slowly, "what happens if we win? We build something that people remember. And us?" she asked. "What happens to us?" He reached for her hand again. "That depends on whether you're still trying to keep me at arm's length." She didn't answer, not yet. But as they stepped out and disappeared into the darkened building together, the question lingered just long enough to matter. Kara stood beside Finn in the silent elevator, both of them watching the numbers climb. The early morning light sliced through the building's glass exterior, casting long shadows over the stone lobby below. Neither had slept. The final review was in less than an hour, and every detail of their proposal had been recalibrated, restructured, and painstakingly aligned to present a unified front. But what they hadn't discussed not once was what came after. As the elevator doors opened onto the top floor, Finn turned to her. "After this is over," he said, voice low, "there are things I need to tell you." Kara nodded once, not trusting herself to ask what. Not yet. The conference room was already occupied by the federal agency's review panel, seated in a precise row, their expressions unreadable. Kara's father wasn't there. He'd stepped down years ago, but the room still carried the weight of rooms he'd once inhabited. She could feel it pressing against her chest. Finn greeted the panel first, his tone measured and firm. Kara followed, her voice clear as she dove into the sections she'd rewritten overnight, guiding them through the platform's new scalability model. Every question was answered with precision. Every concern met with a solution. They didn't interrupt one another. They didn't falter. They moved like two minds wired to the same current. By the time the final slide faded from the screen, the lead panelist leaned back in his chair. "That was comprehensive," he said. "We'll notify your teams by the end of the day." As the panel filed out, Finn exhaled slowly. Kara didn't speak until they were alone in the hallway again. "Do you think it was enough?" she asked. He gave her a look that wasn't quite a yes or a no. "I think we gave them something no one else could." Kara nodded and started to turn, but Finn caught her wrist gently. "There's something you should know," he said. She waited. "I told you I'd have to call in a favor to get the Zurich data stabilized. That wasn't the whole truth." She narrowed her eyes. What did you do? I didn't go to my father's advisor, he said. I went to my father. The air between them changed. You said you hadn't spoken in years, she said carefully. I hadn't. But I knew he still had influence in Zurich. I told him I needed access to their security roadmap. He agreed under one condition. What condition? Finn hesitated. He wanted to buy back controlling shares in Harlow Global. He thinks I've made the company too lean, too vulnerable. Kara pulled her hand back. Did you agree? I didn't have to. He tried to force the transfer this morning. I blocked it before I came here. She stared at him. That's a war, Finn, I know. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't your battle to fight, and because I couldn't let you think I'd gambled our pitch on something that personal. Kara folded her arms, considering. You did it for the proposal. No, he said. I did it for you. You asked me to show up. This is what that looks like for me. She was quiet for a long moment. I don't need you to burn down your family to prove something, she said. I didn't. I just didn't let them own me again. Her voice softened. That's not nothing. He stepped closer. I meant what I said last night about us. I know. Then say something. Kara looked at him fully, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she reached into her bag, pulled out a folded sheet of paper and handed it to him. What's this? My resignation letter. He unfolded it slowly. I'm leaving Presco Tech, she said. After the proposal, whatever happens, I've been holding on to something that doesn't belong to me anymore, my father's company. His reputation, his legacy, it's time I built something of my own. Finn looked up. You're walking away from everything? No, she said. I'm walking toward something better. Like what? She hesitated. Then, I want to start an innovation lab, something small, something honest. For once, I want to build something that belongs to me, start to finish. Finn folded the letter again carefully. You'll have investors lining up, he said. I'm not looking for investors. He cocked his head slightly. What are you looking for? She met his gaze. A partner. The air shifted again, this time with something heavier, something real. Are you asking me to join you? He asked. I'm asking if this us has room to grow outside of boardrooms and conference calls. Finn didn't answer right away. He set the letter on the table beside them and took both her hands in his. I built an empire because I thought it was the only way to matter in a world where everything felt temporary, he said. But you, he paused, voice thick, you never felt temporary. Kara's breath caught. I want to be where you are, he said. Whatever that looks like. Before she could speak, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then held it out to her. The message was short. The contract was theirs. They both stared at it for a moment, the weight of it settling in. We won, Kara whispered. Finn slid his phone back into his pocket. Feels different than I thought it would. It's not the win that matters, she said. It's what comes next. He reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a small black velvet pouch. She raised an eyebrow. If there's another set of diamonds in there, I swear it's not jewelry. He opened it, revealing a single brass key. To what? A space downtown, he said. I bought it a few months ago. I didn't know why at the time. She took the key slowly. I was going to turn it into a private research suite, he said. But maybe you need it more than I do. Kara stared at the key, then at him. You're giving me a building. I'm giving you a start, he said. You build the vision. I'll hold the door open. She didn't cry. She didn't need to. Instead, she reached up and kissed him softly, deliberately, as if sealing a contract neither of them would ever walk away from. When they pulled apart, she smiled. You're not going to regret this. He brushed his thumb along her jaw. I already don't. And in that moment, standing together in a quiet hallway with the world shifting beneath them, they both knew something final had been decided, not the merger, not the contract, each other. The glass doors to the downtown space creaked as Kara pushed them open, the morning sun streaking across the concrete floors. Dust hung in the air, catching the light like gold flecks. A faint smell of paint and fresh lumber still lingered. The walls were bare, the ceilings high, and the potential was almost overwhelming. Finn stepped in behind her, his hand resting at the small of her back. I had it cleaned out last week. The contractors said they'll finish the exposed beam restoration by Friday. She walked deeper into the open room, her heels echoing softly. It's bigger than I remembered. You haven't been here before. She turned, confused. Yes, I only showed you the pictures, he said. I was waiting until you said yes. She paused, letting that settle. So this is the real first time. He nodded, watching her as she wandered to the far side of the room where light poured in through a row of tall windows. She stood there for a while, saying nothing, running her fingers along the edge of the newly installed work tables. I want to start with 3 developers, she said eventually. No more, I want to build the culture right from the beginning. Finn leaned against the wall, jacket slung over his arm. You already have one, she looked back at him. No, you hired someone yesterday, one of your interns from Presco. She sent me her resume, hoping I'd forward it to you. I told her to show up here Monday morning. Kara raised an eyebrow. You're hiring for me now, I'm backing you, he said. That's what partners do. Careful, she said, walking toward him. If you keep saying things like that, I might start believing you actually like me. He stepped forward, closing the space between them. You're still pretending you don't know. I'm still pretending I have control. He reached up, brushing a finger along the edge of her collarbone. You've had control since the first time you challenged me. She rested her forehead against his chest. I don't want to lose what we've built. You won't, he said. We're not standing on someone else's foundation anymore. This, he gestured to the space around them, is yours. And whatever I build from now on, it starts with you in the room. Kara tilted her head up. You mean that? Finn didn't answer with words. He kissed her, slow and certain, like it was the only thing he'd ever been sure of. When they finally parted, she laughed softly. You're going to be impossible to work next to. I already am, he said. The day unfolded with quiet progress. They mapped out timelines on a giant whiteboard Finn had installed overnight. Kara drafted architecture specs, while Finn handled the legal filings necessary to separate her new company from Presco's shadow. They disagreed on wall colors, agreed on team size, and neither of them noticed how easily they moved through decision after decision without clashing. By evening, they were sitting on the floor eating takeout from a paper bag, chopsticks in hand, their backs against the wall beneath the windows. I never thought I'd leave Presco, Kara admitted. It always felt like I owed it something. You gave it everything, Finn said. Now it's time to give something to yourself. I kept waiting for someone to give me permission, she said, but I didn't need it. You never did, he said. That's what made you different. She glanced over, studying his profile against the fading light. What about you? What's next for Harlow Global? I'm restructuring the board, he said. My father's shares are back in trust. I'm setting new voting rules. Clean slate. She blinked. That's a huge move. It's overdue. Finn set his box down. I used to think I had to keep proving I was better than who I came from. Now I just want to be the man I am with you. She leaned her head on his shoulder. You're a lot softer when you're not dominating a room. I'm not soft, he said. No, she agreed. You're just finally open. The next few weeks moved fast. Kara hired her first 3 team members, all women, all brilliant, and transformed the raw space into a hub of innovation. Finn kept his distance during work hours, offering support without interference. At night, they returned to his penthouse or her small loft, depending on the mood. There was no performance anymore, just presence. One evening, after a long day installing equipment in the new testing lab, Kara returned to find her apartment filled with the scent of citrus and candles flickering on the windowsill. Finn was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, plating something that looked suspiciously like it had been delivered and reheated. You cooked. I reheated with passion, he said. She laughed, setting her keys down. You're ridiculous. He walked over, holding a small velvet box. One more thing, her eyes narrowed. If that's another key, I'm going to throw it out the window. He opened it. Inside was a gold ring, simple but elegant, with a single round diamond set in a band that shimmered faintly in the candlelight. She stared. Finn, I don't need a contract, he said. I don't need a pitch deck. I just need you, every day, whatever way you want me. She didn't speak for a long time. Then, you're not proposing in my kitchen with takeout. He closed the box. All right, I'll do it again, somewhere with music. Maybe fireworks. She stepped forward, took the box from his hand, and opened it again. But you are proposing. Yes, then I'm saying yes. He pulled her into his arms, lifting her off the ground as she laughed into his shoulder. They didn't plan a grand wedding. Just a small ceremony on the rooftop of the Innovation Lab, surrounded by close friends, her team, and a few of his more tolerable board members. Her mother arrived wearing an understated silver dress, and to Kara's surprise, hugged her tightly afterward and said, "He makes you better. But more importantly, you make yourself better with him." On their honeymoon, they went off-grid for 2 weeks to a private island Finn had leased, where they swam in turquoise water and read books on opposite ends of a hammock. Kara wrote notes for a new patent between naps. Finn sketched out ideas for a joint venture. They would eventually launch together a program to fund female-led startups. When they returned, she hung her lab's first product prototype on the wall beside a framed picture of them from the rooftop ceremony. Finn installed a plaque below it that read, "Built from fire, held by choice." And every morning after that, before the sun rose over the city, he kissed her shoulder and whispered, "Still choosing you." She always whispered back, "Forever."